Good afternoon. Today is Tuesday, January 23rd, 2024. Welcome to our special meeting of the East Baton Rouge Parish School Board. This meeting is now called to order. Our invocation will be given by School Board Member Cliff Lewis, and our Pledge of Allegiance will be given by Mr. Nathan Russ. Let us stand.
Gracious Father in heaven, thank you for blowing the breath of life into us this morning. Thank you for allowing us to see a day that was not promised. We pray, oh Heavenly Father, that you will watch over our homes. We pray that you will watch over the homes and the loved ones of all who are present here. We pray that your will be done and not our own. In Jesus Christ's special name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Prior to our moving forward, I would just like to acknowledge some individuals that are in the audience, and I hope that I don't miss any of our prestigious guests. But we're so thankful to have Mr. Cornell Washington in the house today, whom we haven't seen in a while, and Dr. Press Robinson, whom we haven't seen in a while, and Mr. Byron Sharper and Mr. Kurt Sharper. You all, if you will give them a hand for joining us today. And then we also have one of my good friends, and I think she's a good friend to a lot of us on the board because I even heard Mr. Landis mention her, and that is Mother Pearl Porter, you all.
Mama Pearl.
As we move forward, I do have a point of personal privilege that I would like to take today before we begin today's meeting. Since our special meeting is going to be quite brief, I did want to share these notes, and then I probably will get an opportunity to share them again, but specifically tonight. So with this in mind, number one, and I'm going to let her get her seat first, I would like to wish our District 4 School Board member, Ms. Shoshone Stewart, a very happy birthday. We pray that you celebrate many more wonderful years.
Thank you, guys.
Number two, I would like to thank all my colleagues, friends, family, and community for your support in the 2024 board leadership election and for all the congratulatory commendations that have been extended to me within the last 2 weeks. I do not take this opportunity lightly, and I look forward to the work ahead on behalf of our students, our teachers, our staff, and families. Also, I would like to apologize or extend apologies on behalf of myself and my colleagues for the several contentious experiences that have taken place within the last year. Some would say that a few of the heated conversations were warranted, while others may have been completely uncalled for and unacceptable. Considering, please be reminded of the following. I think that it has been a while since we visited this, and according to our Citizens Guide to the Conduct of East Baton Rouge Parish School Board Meetings, which you can find copies in the lobby, subsection entitled Order and Decorum at School Board and Committee Meetings. Paragraph 1 says it is in the public interest that meetings of the school board or its committees in handling the public's business be conducted in an orderly and dignified manner. To this end, the following rules are established for the conduct of all persons, including school board members and staff members, attending a meeting of the board and its committees. Paragraph 3 reads, all persons attending meetings of the school board or of its committees must be recognized by the presiding officer before speaking. In return, the presiding officer and other school board members shall courteously receive the comments made by such persons. Any person who fails or refuses to obey the rulings and directions of the presiding officer or otherwise disrupts the meeting in any manner shall be requested by the presiding officer to leave the meeting room for the remainder of that meeting. If any person refuses to follow the directions of the presiding officer shall cause such person to be removed from the meeting as authorized by Louisiana Revision Statute 4217 and other applicable laws of the state of Louisiana. With this in mind, I'm requesting the following today and in future meetings. Please refrain from personally attacking board members, staff, and constituents, both verbally and physically. We are professionals and for the most part adults, other than when we have a special opportunity to hear from our most important stakeholders, our students. The First Amendment of the United States Constitution gives all citizens freedom of speech and expression. Therefore, all are encouraged to use expression and display our passion when speaking. However, disrespectfulness is unacceptable. Please extend a similar or higher level of respect to others as you would hope to receive in return. Therefore, please refrain from using profanity, inappropriate and/or offensive language, and/or making any form of threats that apply to one or more persons in this room or building. Please avoid responding to others' body gestures. Board members and audience have the right to nod or shake their head, to smile, unfortunately, in some cases, to roll their eyes, to wink, to stare, to fold their arms, etc. It is not our place to comment on such activities. Lastly, let us be respectful of other people's time. When given the opportunity to speak, board members are given 5 minutes to speak when recognized by the meeting chair. Colleagues, please monitor your time from your computer. When the timer turns yellow, you are in your final minute of speaking time. When the timer turns red, you are over time. The public is given 3 minutes to speak. When the first alarm sounds and the yellow timer light comes on, public commenters are in the final minute of speaking time. When the next alarm sounds and the red timer light comes on, public commenters, your speaking time has ended. Please proceed accordingly. We appreciate everyone who attends and participates in our meetings. We encourage others to participate as well. We look forward to a higher level of professionalism, order, efficiency, proper decorum, and insightful conversations as we move forward and in the future. Thank you. Let us proceed with our agenda. Items for consideration. Item 1, Superintendent
President Lewis, we need a roll call.
Roll call. Here we go.
District 3, President Powell Lewis.
Present.
District 9, Vice President Martin.
Present.
District 1, Mr. Blue.
Here.
District 2, Mr. Lannis.
Here.
District 4, Ms. Stewart.
Present.
District 5, Mr. Lewis.
Present.
District 6, Mr. Russ.
Present.
District 7, Mr. Gode. District 8, Ms. Chatelain.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Alphabet B, items for consideration. Item number 1, Superintendent resignation. Recommended action, discussion or consideration of the approval of the resignation and separation agreement of Superintendent Dr. Cito Narcisse. Is there a motion? It has been moved by Mr. Lewis. Is there a second? It has been seconded by Mr. Martin. Comments from the board. Mr. Gode.
Thank you, President. Thank you, President Powell Lewis. And I will ask for your gracious indulgence in this important matter. I plan on going over my 5 minutes, but I hope you will allow me to do this on this moment. I would like to take us back a few years to the selection of Dr. Narcisse as our superintendent. At that time, our school system had essentially stagnated academically for several years and was then thrust into the middle of the COVID-19 experience. The board at the time made it clear that we wanted change from the old ERB way, which was stifling innovation and progress. We knew that such change would be very difficult and painful because so many adults were happy just where they were. But we knew that change had to happen because we were failing the majority of students. Dr. Narcisse fully understood the situation and embraced the challenge. knowing that it would not always be very popular in some circles. This effort began with the first strategic plan for East Baton Rouge Parish School District in 20-plus years, done in close collaboration with the board, the public, and the district staff. Our first need was a dramatic improvement in early childhood academic development, particularly literacy. Dr. Narcisse created a Department of Literacy to focus and place literacy coaches in low-performing schools, which led to the Literacy Blueprint, which will redesign the teaching of the science of reading across the district. Dr. Narcisse expanded early childhood education by 1,000 seats from ages 0 to 4 years old. He also supported microcenters in elementary schools, allowing a seamless path into 3- and 4-year-old classes through partnerships with local this year, which will greatly help increase the participation of currently underrepresented, economically disadvantaged children. What was the response to some adults to these efforts? Complaints about the national best practice of the use of literacy coaches, proposing instead just to have another teacher in a classroom, which would have minimized the change for adults, but would result in minimal to no change or improvement for kids. Other adults complained about this use of standardized assessments across the district, even though it benefited students who were highly mobile between schools, enabled concentrated intervention with struggling students, and provided a means to consistently track progress of each and every student. It also allowed the district to track progress by a specific teacher and, more importantly, provide intervention where necessary through professional development. All of this is not in the mode of the EBR way, but is good for kids, even if some adults were moved from their comfort zone. A second focus of that board was to improve graduation rates and to expand opportunities for our students, especially the 80% historically underserved students in our school system that are identified as economically disadvantaged. Dr. Narcisse used district-wide master scheduling and a comprehensive staffing model to better and more equitably allocate district personnel and resources. That also allowed expanded course offerings in high school so that every graduate now has the opportunity to earn an associate's degree or an industry-based credential along with their diploma. Dr. Narcisse provided the means for increasing the number of students enrolled in dual enrollment or advanced placement. Dual enrollment went from just over 400 students in 2021-22 to just under 1,400 students this year. AP enrollment increased from just about 2,500 to over 4,500. These changes by Dr. Narcisse help improve students to earn 3,000 industry-based certificates in the previous school year. Also, 49 local industry partners offered 124 internship opportunities to high school seniors and is expanding this year. We now believe this is the largest internship program in the entire United States. Dr. Narcisse developed community partnerships with BREC, YMCA, and others for summer academic, enrichment, athletic, and also expanded athletic programs in all elementary schools for pre-K through 5th grade students. Dr. Narcisse's approach is working, and more importantly, it is working to scale, not a just soon-to-be-forgotten pilot program. However, it is not, again, without pushback by some adults. Some complained that AP courses were going to be destroyed and the ability to apply to prestigious out-of-state colleges would be adversely impacted. This is not at all the case, as evidenced by the increase in AP enrollment mentioned above. Others said that students who were struggling to pass LEAP tests couldn't possibly pass dual enrollment courses. I call this attitude the tyranny of low expectations. Results so far indicate that these students, with the proper support and the possibility of an affordable college or technological degree in their future, can handle the coursework. Others push back on the use of the comprehensive staffing model in our schools, although the model had been in place for years but only very loosely implemented. This resulted This resulted in large differences in staffing and vacancies between high-performing schools and those schools with large number of struggling students. Was this fair to the students? However, much hue and cry were raised when favorite teachers were moved, despite the fact that the impacted teachers were selected by their individual principals, not Dr. Narcisse. Others said that this would cause a huge exodus of teachers. While we have had a continuing issue with teacher staffing, the numbers don't suggest that it is any real change from prior years. Again, the kids are succeeding in spite of the adult issues. A third focus of the prior board was to generally increase academic performance. What has happened in just under 3 years, particularly impacted by COVID? Dr. Narcisse has established a very successful ninth grade academies at each high school, which will translate into higher graduation rates in the future as these students matriculate. The district is currently home to 16 district schools that earn top gains and 13 equity or opportunity awards. The school system has demonstrated plus 2.6 growth in reported DPS this year. Individual indices have also increased. And also recognizing how the emotional well-being of students is to their academic progress, Dr. Narcisse greatly increased the number of schools and SEL activities embedded in the school schedules. Another focus of the board was to improve efficiency and transparency of the district in support of that initial strategic plan. Based upon the strategic plan, we now have a scorecard where families and community members can view student and school performance across the district. Dr. Narcisse is replacing our severely outdated and disjointed finance, procurement, and human resource systems with one coordinated system. He has reestablished the district's relationships with the Council of Great City Schools to bring fresh ideas into the district, which was sorely lacking. Through personal efforts, Dr. Narcisse has greatly increased community partnerships such as the Baton Rouge Innovation Coalition, the Baton Rouge Youth Area Network, and the Talent Action Collaborative with BRAC. In response to looming teacher shortages and the need for diversification in our teacher workforce, we're offering financial assistance and comprehensive training to eligible EBR employees that aspire to become teachers. More opportunity has been given to our children and families, and community involvement increased through the focused choice model. Meanwhile, by popular demand, Capitol High was returned back to EBR after years of failure. Has everything been done perfectly? Of course not. We have struggled to find ways to provide permanent salaries increases for our employees. But remember, this issue was raised by Dr. Narcisse when he asked for a district-wide salary survey, which highlighted the need for a 12% increase across the board after many years without any salary adjustments. Many employees are concerned about the difficulty and time this will take to accomplish. But remember, the discussion of this adult issue was first opened by Dr. Narcisse. Another issue has been the entire transportation problem, which everyone admits has been years in the making. Many things could and should have been done better. But also please remember that this very board instructed Dr. Narcisse to get expert help and opinions on how best to solve the problem. That is exactly what he did, and the three-tier schedule was the best option in the opinion of the experts. In hindsight, it was too aggressive, but it was not crazy. I know I've probably bored everyone by now, but I would like to profoundly thank Dr. Narcisse for his efforts to improve the lives of our children. He accepted this job knowing that we needed to make substantial change and that change would be painful and many times unpopular. He faced that cheerfully and as a gentleman, despite the opposition and the attacks of those privileged by the status quo. Many times, as our president alluded to, these attacks became personal, even to the point of attacking his personal family life. Throughout it all, he never responded in kind and always kept his eye on what was best for the children. In my opinion, It is a very sad moment for our children and our city as a whole that we have reached this point by allowing politics to usurp our responsibility to the children. Dr. Narcisse has made great progress in a very short amount of time. I will dare say that every child in our system has had at least one of his efforts have a positive impact on their life, and isn't that what we're all supposed to be about? However, Dr. Narcisse's work here is not done, and I know that his resignation is not something that he wanted. As evidenced by the attempted contract renewal, he would happily stay here for 4 or even more years. However, as an elected board, politics is always an issue, and our new board has brought us to this point. I wish Dr. Narcisse all the best, and I will keenly watch for the outstanding success for students that I know he will achieve. Just unfortunately, it will not be for the students here in Baton Rouge. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, seeing no further comments from the board, we will now turn to comments from the public. Ms. Mary Patricia Ray.
My name is Mary Patricia Ray. I'm the mom of 2 boys in East Baton Rouge Parish Schools. The purpose of my comments is to explain why the current agreement to part with Dr. Narcisse is wasteful and why an alternative would be a better use of taxpayer dollars. So I have to state a couple of facts to explain that. First of all, no one wanted Dr. Narcisse to leave the district more than me, and I promise you I made that very clear throughout his tenure here. I supported someone else to be the superintendent of this district when he was up for the job, and that's the day that my children became unsafe in this school district, experiencing discrimination based on disability on a daily basis. Just yesterday, being denied a lunch at school. Child abuse that's been well documented and explained to all of you in many open public records. Years ago, I wrote a letter to the editor laying out a very clear and rational, well-reasoned explanation why we needed to move on right away from the perspective of many students, teachers, and school employees. I correctly predicted when he was selected that my own school would see a huge decline. Our school letter grades have declined, which I predicted. We've seen a 33% reduction in the classrooms we have at our school since he took over, and a huge loss of certified teachers. My children have never had the same teacher for an entire school year since they began attending school in this district 4 years ago, which is when he took office. But I kept speaking out, and the more I did, the more retaliation happened to my family, and also the more money Dr. Narcisse directed the district to use to keep my children from accessing needed resources. So he recommended that we fight removing employees that left my children in feces and rat trap glue. He recommended that we spend money denying them special education services that actually cost less to provide than the legal fees to drag a 6-year-old and a 3-year-old before an administrative law judge who simply wanted a talker device because they have a speech delay. He sent messages to vulnerable children at high risk through Day of Hope. He did all of these things that have cost this district so much money. So if it costs us money to look into firing him for cause and taking him to court, that is a way better use of our funds than simply paying him the same amount to not come to work. A man who would not pay bus operators and teachers any more money to come to work. I have spent so much of my own taxpayer money in this district to have my own children litigated against. And I'm sorry, I appreciate that y'all may think you've done the best you can on this, but I encourage you to try harder. This is a huge, one of the biggest wastes of money and one of the biggest amounts of salt in the wound of children like mine who have been abused, who have been retaliated against, and who have been denied services that they're due under the law repeatedly under Superintendent Dr. Narcisse. No one has wanted him to see him go more than me, I promise you. It can be done in a way that supports teachers and school employees who also wanted him gone.
Thank you. Okay, I believe that we have another public comment for item 1. Feel free to make your way to the mic, sir. And please state your name for the record.
Good evening. evening, everyone. My name is Daryl Dorsey. I'm a proud parent of a student in the East Baton Rouge Parish School System. Last year was my son's first year in high school. He goes to Woodlawn High School. I grew up in Baton Rouge, Louisiana all my life. Went to Lee High School, great school, by the way. But for the last 8 years or 9 years, Woodlawn High School every year, in consistency every year, has had racial differences between teachers and students that have been so systemic that it still goes on today. Now, we hired a superintendent that brought change to this district. I am upset and appalled that members of this board will let a man walk out of our district that helped our kids. Thank you so much for giving that, Mr. Godet. That was a wonderful speech, and explaining what he did for our district is very disappointing and sad, even though I don't agree with his decision, but I have to respect it. But this man has brought change to the district, and all of you board members, do what's best for you, and I advise the parents and people in our community to get out and vote. If you really want to see change, because some of you all voted against your constituents because they support Dr. Narcisse. What he did for Woodlawn High School has been wonderful and amazing. There's a lot of people that should have been fired, but given the politics in EBR, they just get moved around and waste taxpayers' dollars. And that's a shame that you all support this and would like to remove this man. Have a great day.
Thank you. Ms. Jacqueline Germany, were you speaking to this item, Ms. Germany? Okay. Oh, okay. All right, ma'am, state your name for the record.
Good afternoon. My name is Kelly Robinson. Good evening. Let me say that first, I want to say thank you to Dr. Narcisse for all the wonderful things that he did for Woodlawn High School. I am a parent of Woodlawn High School as well as a graduate of Woodlawn High School. The Woodlawn High that I grew up under is not the same Woodlawn that I see today. And when I walked in Woodlawn in 2022 and I saw, for me to see racial stance and for a principal to tell me to my face, oh, if one Arab fight, they all fight, that's a gang fight. I have a problem with that because my child is never a problem child. And Cliff Lewis, you sit on this board and you often say that you don't want to be in that seat. Why don't you get up and do what Katie Kennison did and leave? Because you're not for it. The issues that you guys have, it's not about the children. It's all personal, and it's adults, and it's very petty. And we need to rise above that because these are our kids, and these kids have to one day begin to take care of us. So if we continue to flip-flop superintendents and teachers, guess what? We have nothing. That's why our children are lost in the communities because they have nobody that's sticking with them and staying in the community, bringing them back home, saying, okay, let's go to community schools. I'm all for it because you're going to have that community as one. That school is going to be as one. And I speak for on all of it. He has done great things at Woodlawn High School. I've seen him done great things for Capitol High School, Glen Oaks High School, Ostroma High School, McKinley Middle, Cedar Crest Sophomore when my son was there. All of these, every school that my children have attended, and I attended every school my kids did. And guess what? We all succeeded. I'm a 2-time graduate working on my doctorate. Understand, I don't play when it comes to my children, and this decision, it didn't have to come to this. I'm sorry that he had to go, and I will miss him.
Thank you. Ms. Germany.
Good afternoon, board. My name is Jacqueline Germany, and I speak for myself. I speak for the community. I speak for those that are afraid to come and those who feel like their voices will never be heard. I'm sorry to see that empty chair there tonight because I stood behind Dr. Narcisse. I like what he did, and I like the way he did it. Now, what you all personal differences were, I don't understand it, and I don't have an appreciation for it. But change happens, and I know that we have to accept those changes. But I stand before you tonight to tell you that I don't like seeing that empty chair, because I saw the things he did. He made changes where I never saw changes made before. There was caring, affection, programmatic things that would benefit all children. And I hope that that continues. And I hope that the things that he tried to do to make a difference here in EBR, that you all consider that. And we don't start from a new drawing board and change everything. We need to stop changing and progressively move forward, not just for yourself, but for the citizens and the children of EBR. I have no child in the school system. My youngest son is 52 years old. I have grandchildren and great-grandchildren that I stand here before you today to talk for. At East Baton Rouge Parish, we need to make sure that our children feel a part of East Baton Rouge and not have to go to a private school or a private institution to get a better education. I got one when I was in school, and I want to see the same thing happen to the children that are coming now. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ms. Colleen Kissel.
Hello, Colleen Kissel. I have 2 kids here in the public school system. He was a superintendent, and that means he did things I liked and he did things I didn't like, and that's the job. That's the job for all of us. Our job is to come when he does things we don't like and to say things to him that he doesn't like to hear. And when he does things we do like, it's our job to tell him he did a good job. And I think we do a good job of that. I wish with this process, it's just been so messy. I wish you had either, I heard he had resigned. And I was like, well, that's good for him. That was probably the right call for him to make. I read the article and he said, you know, I talked about it with my family and I prayed about it. And I'm like, I get it, man, I wouldn't want to do that. I wouldn't want to sit there. And then the articles come out that he was pushed out and that he's getting the settlement because we told him we had the votes to fire him, and now he has to quit to save face or get fired. I would rather we had fired him and then not pay the settlement, right? Or he left and he doesn't get the money, or whatever the contract says happens, then this mess where he gets to resign to save face and then we still have to pay him. And it's just confusing. I read the article like 3 or 4 times on my way here. If we're gonna have the votes to fire him and call it a day. Don't do this where I have to come here and say, let's maybe not pay him since he resigned. It's not like he's saving face by quitting. You can just Google his name in this city, and there's been so many national articles because we keep messing it up. And when he does good things, they get in the news too sometimes, great. So I don't think his resume is affected by being here in Baton Rouge, regardless of if we fire him or we don't fire him and he quits. It's just been a mess. So that was my 1 minute. If there's not a dollar amount on the item, I came in a few minutes late. If there's a dollar amount on the item, I would love to know it. If you could say that again at some point during the next part of this process. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Nyman.
Good evening, Tanya Nyman, District 7, right? Forgetting. 1 child in East Baton Rouge Public Schools. I probably won't get to explain my full position in the 3 minutes or less, but one of the things that most troubles me is just really the narrative that's been created around this whole process, beginning with the attempt, as they say, to renew his contract a few months ago. The primary objection to that was the exorbitant increase in the benefit package at a time when teachers have been denied adequate increases for so many years, and that it wasn't even a genuine effort to keep the superintendent, regardless of whether you liked him or supported him. It wasn't a genuine effort to propose such an increase at a time when teachers have been denied those increases. And so it's laid the groundwork for this now, where he can resign, and then we're supposed to also pony up this package to buy him out. I want to object to the notion that he actually advocated for teachers, because you can go back to December 2021, and when the U.S. Secretary of Education visited Baton Rouge. And the press release for that visit actually lists the primary thing for those COVID funds to be spent on was for paying support staff, hiring a support staff, and increasing teacher salaries in order to compensate them adequately for all the extra work they did. And that never even got into our papers, and it was never mentioned by Superintendent Narcisse. Instead, the whole narrative that was included in the local media and by Superintendent Narcisse was to support the Pathways to Bright Future. And that was only controversial only because, and rather than it being an opt-in program, it was an opt-out program, which means that the most vulnerable children are having a decision made on their behalf without regard for what is in their best interest. And that was the primary objection. And so the ongoing distortion of what goes on with our education system is so deeply troubling. And I know people who are getting up here and genuinely advocating for the superintendent, probably the information they have based on their one unit site gives them that impression. But if you're relying on the local media or the characterizations from many of the people that are sitting on this board, then unfortunately you're not getting the whole picture. And so I hope people will make a greater effort to read from a variety of viewpoints so that they can hear from a diversity of perspectives and then arrive at the position that they get at, instead of relying on a very solipsistic solipsistic information. But really, just there's no need to pay out somebody who's resigned, and especially it's so insulting to our teachers who have been working so hard with no adequate compensation increase. Thank you.
Thank you. Before we proceed back to board comments, I guess a point of clarification or information. When we look at the recommended action, Mr. Shamlin, did we read the motion correctly? Should it have been an acceptance of the resignation?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
So the request is for an approval. The motion is to approve that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I can't remember who the maker of the motion is.
Mr. Lewis and Mr. Martin.
Yeah, so just for clarification, your motion is to approve the request to approve the resignation. It's accept the resignation and approve the severance agreement.
Is this correct, gentlemen?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, returning to board comment, Mr. Lannis.
Thank you, Madam President. 6. That's what we're going to have. 6 superintendents in the last 4 years. Now, I heard someone speak about underprivileged students across this community. If you've ever worked with an underprivileged student before, what you know is that child needs consistency more than anything. And this constant bouncing around of superintendents or leaders who's supposed to lead our district, that's not vision. It doesn't even support our kids, because the next person that comes in are going to have to come up with their own strategic vision, which you're losing time. I won't beat the issue because it's already signed. Everybody was already in agreement with it. But what I will say is I also hear the comments inside of the room, and I question these things my own self. Because what sense would it make to buy out a contract so a person can essentially go sit at home or do nothing as a consultant, enter into an interim contract that is essentially going to lock a person out from even applying to be the permanent, and then you go through a superintendent search that costs the board even more money, and then you have to go out and get another permanent person. Now, everything we just heard tonight was that we don't have money in our district to pay teachers, and we are dealing with a budget shortfall, yet we are finding dollars out of the air to make these sort of moves happen. I'm not questioning board leadership, and heck, I am supporting them, but what I will say is this process just simply does not make any sense. At the very least, with the understanding and the caveat that the contract was signed for him to resign, what I have said from the beginning is let him play out the rest of the contract because we planned it anyway. Why pay somebody to sit at home when we can let him continue to work, understanding that he understands our budget, he has been through that process before, and he knows and can help us build that vision. He said that at the press conference. Yet, we're still moving in a different direction that doesn't make sense for our community. This is going to negatively affect our kids. Pay attention to what's happening at the state. They're increasing the performance scoring rubric, meaning teachers are going to have to work even harder. Students that are in disadvantaged households and communities and schools that are underserved are going to have to work even harder to continue to improve scores. If that makes sense to you, okay, let's go through with the vote. I'll stop there.
Thank you. Mr. Ballou, and then after Mr. Ballou, we will allow Vice President Martin to read the online comments. Okay, Mr. Ballou.
Thank you. I just want to thank Superintendent Narcisse for the work he's done in trying to improve a very challenging district. I can't imagine anybody who would display more passion and energy in pursuit of that improvement. He's done a lot to bring about innovation in our district. A lot of programs that have been emulated around the country, and I just want to tell him I enjoyed working with him, and I thank him for all his work.
Thank you. Okay, Vice President Martin.
Thank you. After public requests, we're going to try to, in the future, read the public comments that are posted online into the record. I will not read comments that have items which are slanderous or inappropriate that we wouldn't allow from the podium. There's one comment that I can read from Emily Lind, who says, I do not support a contract buyout in exchange for Dr. Narcisse's resignation. The funds that remain could and should be redistributed to pay bus drivers, teachers, and other school support personnel. That's all.
Thank you. We will now still return to board comment. Mr. Gode.
So I just have a quick question for Attorney Shamlin. In the provisions of the contract, there are some things that in there that say things you do or don't do or whatever, but there's nothing in that contract would prevent anyone from answering truthfully and honestly toward any things around possible violations of different acts of the legislature, including violations of Act 1. There's no prohibition of that being able to be done.
To my knowledge, no.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, seeing no further board comment, we will now entertain a vote. And again, the motion is to accept the approval of the resignation and separation agreement of Superintendent Dr. Cito Narcisse.
I actually have a motion to accept the resignation and approve the separation agreement of Superintendent Dr. Cito Narcisse.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Please vote. The motion carries.
Thank you. Moving into item 2, interim superintendent appointment, discussion/consideration of the appointment of an interim superintendent and contract. And so would we entertain a motion on this item, Mr. Shamlin? Or do we take, is there a nomination, or how does that work?
We need to entertain a motion to recommend an interim superintendent, to name
Okay.
an interim superintendent.
Okay, so a motion to recommend an interim superintendent. Is there a motion?
I'll move, I think, is it the motion to actually appoint him?
Appoint, yes, sir.
Motion, I'll move to appoint Adam Smith as the interim superintendent.
Okay. So we have a motion on the floor from Mr. Martin. Is
Point
there
of
a-
order, does that include the attached contract?
Yes, sir, thank you for that.
Okay.
Motion to approve the appointment of Adam Smith as the interim superintendent and execute the contract provided to the board.
Okay, so it has been moved by Mr. Martin and seconded by Mr. Lewis. Comments from the board, Mr. Lannis.
Mr. Smith, you have a huge task on your hands. But let me say this. I think it is unfair to say that you're going to lead this district in the next 6 months through a $70 million budget shortfall. We have to figure out what we're going to do with our employees, and you have to go through school consolidations of possible closures. And to lock you out of that process and not allow you an opportunity to apply permanently, that is wrong. And I cannot stand for that. People have said and spoken on your candor, your demeanor, your commitment to this district for 25 plus years. So let me just say, you deserve an opportunity to apply. And with that being said, I want to offer up a substitute motion that removes any language that barriers or blocks you from running for the permanent superintendent position.
And I second it.
Okay. So it has been moved, there's a substitute motion on the floor that the language that reads that Mr. Smith cannot apply for the permanent position, that clause be removed. Am I correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and it's been seconded by Ms. Stewart. Comments from the board, Mr. Martin.
Thank you, President Powell Lewis. The thinking behind this language is that we do indeed have a great deal of work to do in the next 6 months, 4 to 6 months, before we're able to engage a permanent superintendent. And I think that the interim superintendent will have a freer hand to act if everything he does or proposes to do is not evaluated by everybody in town and this board in terms of whether it will help or hurt him get the permanent position. And with that, I'd like to ask Mr. Smith to speak to that issue.
President Powell Lewis and Vice President Martin. And Mr. Lannis, I appreciate the comments, and you're absolutely correct. There's a tall hill to climb over the next 6 months, but I won't be leading alone. I'm going to rely on the collaboration of all board members to see us through this process. When I was tapped by board leadership to consider for applying for, not actually applying for, accepting the interim position, my response to them was that I would apply, but I would apply for it, but I wouldn't apply for the permanent position. The reason being is because I want to allow this board, we have 6 new board members and 1 board member that will be coming on shortly in March. Is it March? And so I want to allow this board the opportunity to explore all options for a permanent leader. I've served this community for over 25 years. I've served in every capacity. And even if there is a selection of a new permanent, I'll continue to serve this district. I'm not going anywhere. So I applaud, the support from the community. I just want to let the community know that this was a mutual agreement. It was a mutual agreement. And so I've worked with the two board leadership. It was a quick turnaround. I didn't find out till late, what was it, late Fridays, maybe Saturday, that you guys were going to officially make this appointment. But I appreciate the support from the community here. And once the final board vote is selected, then I'd like to come back for a point of privilege comments to make some statements.
Thank you.
That's all.
Okay, all right, Ms. Stewart.
I waive. He answered.
All right, thank you. Seeing no further board comment at this time, we will now turn to comments from the public, and this is in regards to the substitute motion of removing the clause that says, okay, thank you, please.
The substitute motion to appoint Adam Smith as interim superintendent and approve the execution of the contract minus the language prohibiting application for the permanent position.
Thank you. Mr. Washington.
Good afternoon, board members. I'm Cornell Washington, retired teacher, educator, started at Pride High School, came through Northeast High School, and retired from Baton Rouge High School, 13 years. And you are my board member, Mr. Russ. 35 years of committed dedication to this system. And I stand in favor of Mr. Lane. I actually got up and came here to speak what Mr. Lane's motion just made, because to me, it makes no sense. In all of my years of teaching, there's one failure this board has always made. And that is, for some reason, this board think that somebody else's ice is colder than our ice. Somebody else's sugar is sweeter than our sugar. Somebody else's honey is thicker than our honey. What's wrong with us? What's wrong with the people that we have developed? Mr. Smith and others, we always think we got to go somewhere else to get somebody else to teach us. Their knowledge is more profound than ours. I'm insulted by this. This board has made me, in my 36 years here, over 52 years as an education, involved in education, I could only recall 3 superintendents. And of those 3 superintendents we hired locally, 2 of them was our best. And none of y'all worked in the system I did. Okay? Teachers who walk through these doors, we're here because we love children. We are committed to education. Many of you, not all of you, you have other ambitions. You want to be board members and legislators and governors and whatever. But most of the people in this room who are educators, all we want to do is go up that educational ladder. What you are proposing is like right now, it's the playoff season. Quarterback get hurt, so you call me in off the bench. I'm going to go next week and win the AFC Championship. Next week, I'm going to go and win the Super Bowl. And then, Mr. Gaudet, you're going to tell me, Cornell, next year, you did a good job, but we're not going to hire you to be the quarterback. In fact, you're going to tell me don't even come out for the quarterback position. What is that? Ladies and gentlemen, we are qualified. Not only do I not want to see this removed, I want you to stop thinking that way. Coming to the 21st century, we are as good as anybody else in this country to lead our children. Every time y'all get a superintendent, they are out of here before they've been to every damn school. They out of here just that quick.
Mr. Washington.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Okay. All right, next we have Miss Mary Patricia Ray. And again, this is speaking to the substitute motion.
I'm Mary Patricia Ray. I support the substitute motion and also came to this meeting for the purpose of supporting the substitute motion. I supported Adam Smith when he was an applicant to become a permanent superintendent in this district. It has caused my family grievous harm. It was the right thing to do then, and it's the right thing to do now. Otherwise, and I have some very specific reasons why, and they're not cheerleader reasons, they're accountability reasons. I want Mr. Smith to have some incentive. Whether he intends to apply for superintendent or not, he's just told you that he won't, which then it really begs the question, why do you need the language at all? If you don't trust him, then why are you appointing him as interim superintendent? I trust him. And I'm going to trust him until I fail to verify that trust. And I promise you, parents like me, we will be looking to verify, which is why we need this language removed. Without the incentive that there's a potential to apply for this district, I can't trust as a parent that Mr. Smith has the appropriate long-term incentives to make immediate changes that would be in the interest of children in this district. He's already overseen the individuals and departments that I have previously told you present a clear and present danger for the children in this district, including my own. And for the past few years, it's been easy to say he hasn't had the authority to make those decisions. If you tie his hands with a clause that says he can't apply as permanent superintendent, you are presenting a grain of doubt that maybe the reason he didn't make the changes is because it wouldn't have the possibility of impressing parents like me, so that we will come back and support him for permanency. We need to change the culture of this school district. We need to change a culture where a school board member can cuss out a parent on a hot mic, Mr. Lannis. We need to change that. I'm hoping Mr. Smith has full reign to change that and full accountability to measure whether he did. We need a change in the culture of this district where they ignore public records that parents need in order to advocate for their disabled children. We need a culture, and you'll be served with a lawsuit about that next week. We need a culture where employees like Mr. Smith, who have already seen people who you have the receipts that they have harmed children, leave, are gone, where he is the one accountable for making the change or not some ghost apparition, non-existent superintendent with no accountability, which is what we're going to get for 6 months if we don't change this language. We need a culture where instead we respond to valid and clear substantial evidence of what's actually good for children. That's not discrimination, it's not retaliation, and it's certainly not child abuse. And I am ready to see what Mr. Smith would have done if the board had taken my recommendation years ago. Please, please, as a parent, give me the satisfaction of that. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Henry Bratcher, am I saying that correctly? Bratcher.
Yes, I'm Henry Bratcher. In the past, when a new superintendent was needed, the board has spent out of its very strange budget to hire a company to go look for new superintendents, and then presumably pay them to fly in here and put them in a hotel while they get interviewed here. Considering the problem we've had with budgets, it seems to me to be a great waste to go through with again. Why do we need to go through that procedure again of paying somebody to help us find a new superintendent when we have a good possible superintendent right here at hand? Now, I've never met Mr. Smith before. I hadn't even seen him until tonight. I've been involved with the schools. I've been tutoring in Bernard Terrace Elementary Schools for more than 20 years now, tutoring small children. And I have other involvement with the schools. I know a little bit about what's been happening in some years now. And I think that the changes that have been made, which Mr. Godet has so eloquently praised, perhaps have been useful. We've also heard criticism of this tonight. But I think the time has come to quit spending this money. I think it's wasting this money to go abroad looking for a new superintendent when we have a man here right now who knows the system, who's worked in the system, who appreciates the problems of the system. And I think it's time to go ahead and not talk about making Mr. Smith an interim person, but to go ahead and hire him now and make him the superintendent and cut out all this malarkey in the meanwhile. Thank you.
Thank you. We also have another esteemed guest today, former school board member Evelyn Ware Jackson, and I believe I saw former school board member Veretta Lee as well. Thank you so much for joining us. And Ms. Jackson, if you will make your way to the mic.
Good evening, everybody. I am Evelyn Ware Jackson, proud former school board member of District 5. And let me see, there's something that I really need to say. It's been bothering me for about 3 years now. And, you know, but
Ms. Jackson, can you say it in 3 to 5 minutes?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. In fact, Tyrone can say it best. Yes. Thank you, Tyrone. Listen, I served 12 years, 3 terms on the school board, and I estimate that I participated in about 5,000 decisions. Of that 5,000, there are only 3 decisions in those 12 years that I would do over if I could turn back the hands of time. One of them was a decision that involved Mr. Adam Smith. I've expressed my regrets to Mr. Smith personally, and now I am publicly expressing that regret. I believe that chaos often follows creation, and there were a lot of good things that were created under Dr. Narcise's administration. But I admit, however, that most of the chaos was unnecessary and avoidable. Please, please, take extra care not to disrupt the good things that are in place as you examine your steps forward. But please give careful consideration to Mr. Smith in the position beyond interim. It could help with the healing process and also could bring back a lot of good people that left our district with frustration and much pain. So please consider my words carefully. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Ms. Matthews.
Storm Matthews. I just wanted to clarify. Somebody says 6th superintendent. Interims don't count, so this would be the 4th superintendent. We had Drake, Leslie Brown, and then Cito Narcisse, and then, of course, whomever we hire. Adam will clean things up. He has dedicated his entire career to this district. Charlotte Placide has been the greatest thus far, has been the greatest superintendent that I have worked for during my 18-year tenure with EBR. And she was hired via the same way that we can permanently put Adam in place, simply by appointing him. So go ahead and do your search as you need to. And then when you see what a rock star he is and how much he knows and how he cleans up this budget mess that we are in, then y'all can come in and somebody can make that motion. Like, you know what, we've looked at these candidates and they may be great, but who we need to move this district forward, who the people want, because 3 years ago, we had, I don't know the number off the top of my head, but hopefully somebody will say it, but it was 100 and something people came in and spoke dead in the middle of COVID, came into that microphone and spoke saying, we want Adam. And I think it was like 42 came in and said, we want Cito. And this board voted 5-4. The wrong choice was made that day. So we can make the right one and appoint Adam. So, you know, the clause don't really bother me, is what I'm saying, because we can still appoint and make the right decision. And I thank y'all for tonight, because y'all are making the right one tonight. Thank you.
Miss Ashley Ballard.
Hello, board members. My name is Ashley Ballard. I'm a parent of 3 students in EBR schools. I'd first like to thank the board for hearing on and responding to our concerns and crying out for change in district leadership. I'm in full support of Adam Smith to be named interim superintendent. Mr. Smith has not only been waiting, but working diligently in the wings and would be a superintendent our district would be proud of. He served as interim superintendent previously and was someone who listened to the voices of the teachers, the parents, the schools, and the community. He's someone who can reunite us and move us forward. He's always listened and acted to address our concerns, and he has a proven record of success over 2 decades of service to this district. That is why he is trusted by students, parents, and teachers alike. And since the announcement of Mr. Smith as interim, administrators and teachers have reached out to me asking that we support him. He is who they want. He is who we want. And I think that's saying something. Additionally, I'd like to ask that you would remove the clause from the proposed contract that would prevent him from being considered for superintendent in a long-term capacity. I'm not sure why this clause was included in the first place, but if we are a district who truly wants to ensure the best person for the job, and Mr. Smith proves himself worthy of that role, then why would we limit ourselves to him and keep him from being considered? I think we should operate with transparency and in an open-minded way, leaving all options on the table, including allowing Adam Smith to be considered long-term. And lastly, I would like to thank all of those who showed up to participate in this process for choosing our next superintendent so that our voices could be heard. It is utterly vital to the future success and advancement of our schools. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Nyman.
Good evening, Tanya Nyman. First, I want to say that I do support the amendment to repeal the clause limiting Adam Smith's ability to apply for the permanent position. And I want to say that I was one of the many community members who signed a letter in his support in the last consideration. When I heard that his name was being floated again, I said to my fellow advocates, we would be so lucky that he would accept it because it would be perfectly understandable for him to reject it, considering the fiscal cliff that this district is going to be facing. The budget has, they have funded recurring programs with non-recurring funds. And so this district is being set up for bankruptcy and wholesale privatization. And any superintendent who is going to take those reins is going to need the support of the community to deny the narrative that will be created to try to blame them for that issue that was created by this current superintendent's office. So that's the first thing. I call on everyone in this room that if we can somehow manage to get Adam Smith to agree to take this position and get them to withhold the clause, that you understand that he is not responsible for any budget mess that appears on the horizon, and he needs our support, unequivocal support. I also want to point out that the effort to get a search firm, it's not just a bunch of waste of money, taxpayer dollars, to hire a national search firm. When we can hire people within the district that know the politics of the parish and know the long-term issues with the school system, but it's also because national search firms allow a business community to cultivate a short list that guarantees that they get a superintendent that's in line with their values and not the values of stakeholders. And so what everyone needs to understand is that those values of privatizing this parish's school system, it's not, it's got a great marketing campaign saying it's all about equity and improving education for children. But in fact, it's about eliminating elected boards like this one. This board is very limited in what they can do these days. And charter school boards are the ones that are making all the calls for those privatized schools. And those members are not appointed. So you are being systematically disenfranchised of your voting rights with any superintendent that wants to see this charter schools proliferate in this district. Any other points I need to make, audience or board members? I think I got 30 seconds. For once, I'll be ending ahead of time. Thank you very much. Y'all have a good evening.
Thank you, Ms. Nyman. Mr. Robinson. Yes, bring the baby.
Good evening, everyone. Rarely do I get the opportunity to say that I agree with School Board Member Lanus, and I wholeheartedly do today. Wholeheartedly. Adam Smith is a great person. But it's time out for us hiring people just because they're great people. So don't hire him because he's just this amazing guy, but he's a phenomenal educator. He's an even better leader, and that's what we need. I heard Ms. Nyman, who's a friend of mine, say he understands Baton Rouge politics. That's good, but Baton Rouge politics change every single day. But you know what doesn't change? The Baton Rouge culture that our children live in each and every single day. When you bring in all these people from all over the country, or even from New Orleans or Shreveport, they don't know what our children face each and every single day. But I can tell you what Adam Smith does, because when he was the principal of Park Forest and all these other schools, he saw children from every single different community. And you know how he got the results that he got? It wasn't because he did the same thing he did at Park Forest or the same thing he did at Scotlandville. He aggressively targeted the individual issues that are present in African American communities, in which he's more than capable of serving. It's time out for all these people. Y'all cut them strings off. Let these puppet masters go. I don't care who they are. Vote for what's right. It's about children. I heard Mr. Gode say a lot about adults, and adults didn't like this and adults didn't like that. Well, maybe the adults are sick and tired of every single person coming in here from somewhere else and changing everything around instead of addressing the issues that currently exist. But you know what those adults did today? A lot of those adults who are employed by this parish, they called me, they called Storm, they called Tanya, they called many of us who are advocates because they're scared to speak out publicly, and they said, we need Adam Smith. Because the reality is, when you look at, I heard some people talk about the issue that happened at Woodlawn. What did Dr. Cito really do with that principal? He put him over all the high schools in the parish. If he messed up one high school, why put him over all of them? But I'm confident that Adam Smith won't make such a decision. He's the best person for the job. Give it to him.
Thank you, Ms. Kelly Robinson.
My name is Kelly Robinson. I spoke previously. So since he spoke about Scott Stevens being moved, Scott Stevens got great appraisals for the 9 years he was at Woodlawn High School. Let's talk about what happened with Mr. Sutton. Why he was placed on the news by a teacher that is sitting in this very room today, and she still holds her job. And Jody Capella, the assistant principal, has been moved to Sharon Hills and has not one
Ms.
time.
Robinson, I do apologize, but please remain
I'm gonna calm down, pipe down. All right.
topic. Yes.
But Jody Capella is still working, so our tax dollars are still being fluffed with. Why do we still have people on payroll that we know have done our children no good? Our children deserve better. And I'm not saying it's all good and it's all gonna be great, because no man is perfect. But when you have a board that's sitting up here, I saw this board dismantle in December with my own eyes. I did my research on Mr. Adam Smith. He has a great background. I don't know him personally. I don't know what he's done. I've never had him. I can't say that. But what I will ask is, when you become the interim, if you can, please open up an investigation at Woodlawn High School and contact me.
Thank you, Ms. Robinson. Mr. Bilbrew.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Craig Bilber. I'm a teacher at East Baton Rouge Parish for the past 10 years. I'm also a member of EBR PAE Board of Directors. I'm here speaking because of three things. I'm going to go fast because I only got 3 minutes. To the leadership, no one cares how much you know until they know how much you care. To the old board members, if you don't learn from your mistakes, you are destined to repeat them. And to the new board members, you don't have to make a mistake to learn from them. Now, I don't know Mr. Adam Smith personally, but I can tell you, not to add any insult to anybody, I have seen him on my school's campus this past semester more times than I have seen my board member and the superintendent multiplied by 3 combined. I have never heard anybody say anything bad about him. I've only heard accolades. And with this clause, I completely support it being, you making a motion to dismantle that clause, and I applaud you for making that motion. And I would just like to take a little bit of a point of privilege to tell a little bit of story. About 25 years ago, when I was just recently graduated from high school, I applied for the head cashier position at Target. And on the whiteboard, they kept a scorecard of all the applicants and everything. I was at least 75 points ahead of the next person behind me. But when it came time to make the decision, they said, Craig, we're not going to offer you the position because we know you're going to college and we want somebody that's going to put Target first. That crushed me. I went and found another job, but 20 years later, I went back to that Target, and the lady that they chose to be the head cashier is still there, but I have my college degree. Make whatever it is you want. Then fast forward, I worked at Applebee's, and at Applebee's, in order for you to get the coveted bartender position, you have to be like on a seniority list. And so as the people move, you move up over time, the bartenders fall out or whatever, and you get there. I worked there for almost 2 years while I was going to college, and I finally made it to the top spot. I went there and I didn't drink at the time, so I would buy alcohol on weekends when I saved my money. I would make drinks for my friends, and I practiced. And when the bartender would get behind and it was taking 30 minutes to get drinks to the dining room, they would throw me back there and I would fix the drinks and get everything out, and everybody would applaud me and they was happy and they would do everything. Then they'll put me, when a bartender didn't show up, they would put me back there. But then I was wondering, after weeks went on, and the position was supposed to be mine, the manager came to me and listened to the end. She came to me and she said, Craig, I'm just going to be honest with you. We're not going to give you the position because our clientele isn't ready for a black male bartender. Now, everybody say, you should sue him. No, because we was right outside a military base, and I didn't understand at the end of the shift where my cash drawer was on point, everybody got their drinks, everything was cleared out, and I only made like $60 in tips when the other bartenders was only making like $300 in tips. But come to find out, they put, they picked this girl, her name was Joy, and she was the most beautiful thing to ever walk on 2 legs, amazing, and they picked her to be the bartender. And on her first night, she came to me and she said, Craig, what goes in a Crown and Coke? And so I told her, and I helped her out. But the thing about that was, I stayed there for a little while. I got my associate's degree, and I packed up to leave. And it came up to the point, but before I left out of that state to go off to the 4-year university, there was a black male bartender working that bar, and he was making good tips. I said that to say, if Mr. Adam Smith is good enough to jump in and bail us out of every problem that we have, and we go running to him all the time, then why not give him the opportunity to take the realm by the strings and lead us in the direction that we want to need, and we can give every student every day everything that they need. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bilbrough. Okay. All right, and one of my personal superstars, Miss Patty Merrick, my high school U.S. history teacher, if you'll make your way to the front. Thank you.
Maybe I need him to mix me a drink. I just want to say I appreciate everything you said, Lannis, but Mr. Smith, I just want to say that I know for a fact you are the man for the job, and God is an on-time God. It is your time. You have waited patiently, and you stayed in the system when you could have left. You stayed. You know your job. You have done it well. You have been an excellent example in everything that you have done in this job. You waited outside that hallway the last time, 3 years ago, with Lamont Cole and, as they say, Little Brewster. All of you all were lined up, and we know, we almost cried with what happened. But as I said, it's your time. And it's our time here as a board to take that clause out of there. Make him the superintendent. He is the best for the job. You listed, it was in the paper, everything that he has done the 25 years that he's been in this system. We don't need to go any further. Every time you've gone further, you've gotten junk. It's time to get rid of junk. Junk goes to the junkyard. Trash goes out on the street, and it is picked up in EBR on Tuesdays and Fridays. According to what area you live in, it's twice a week. Let's get rid of it. Let's do what we need to do. If you are every student counts every day, let's see what you're going to do with the students. Because if you are good at what you do, I know for a fact, every student can learn. Every student can do. If you do what you are supposed to do, and that person at the head of that class is teaching as our statement goes, from bell to bell, you can do it. And if you have an administrator, because the superintendent is not in the classroom, but the superintendent is the head. If the head is wrong, the tail is wrong. Let's put him and make him permanently. Let's put Adam Smith in. Take the vote, do your job. Thank you, Lanus. Let's do what we need to do.
Ms. Johnson.
Hello, Valencia Johnson, President of the East Baton Rouge Parish Association of Educators, Associate of the Louisiana Association of Educators. I believe this is like one of the first time that I actually agree with something that Mr. Lannis has, first time, I'm in a long time, long time. But I agree with the second. If I'm really honest, Mr. Smith should have had the job 3 years ago. We had the whole community, we had educators, we had all of those people out there saying, Mr. Smith, Mr. Smith, Mr. Smith. And the board, 5-4, voted because they wanted an outsider. Adam Smith is homegrown. He's been here, he's been through the ranks, he understands every aspect of the job. And every time that you call on him, he responds. Anywhere you put him, he responds. If I'm being honest, he our Captain Saver. I mean, it is what it is. He is saving the day, every time. And we're coming to a big physical cliff that I have been warning about. And we're gonna need somebody with some strong leadership abilities. And instead of having an interim, you should go ahead and make the motion to give the man a job. Save some money without doing the search firm, because we're gonna need some money, because y'all said that y'all was gonna pay these teachers and educators in this system. And I can't see how you gonna pay them and bring all of that stuff that's in ESSER back into the general fund. We're gonna need somebody to merge some of these programs and make it work. We're gonna need some real educators power going on in this district. So I implore you to do the right thing and make Mr. Smith not the interim superintendent, but the superintendent, and be done with it. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Lee.
Good evening, President Lewis, Vice President Martin. I want to say this board wasn't in place when Mr. Adam Smith applied before, so don't hammer on them. It was only three, Mr. Goday, Ms. Alanis, and Mr. Blue. I served with Mr. Goday and Mr. Blue a while, but anyways, don't hammer on these new board members. Mr. Alanis, you stole the show tonight, man. You made a motion that we all support. You my board representative now. But the thing is, hey, we like that. But the thing is, The grass you think is green on the other side. Let's go out and interview somebody else to put in this job. As everyone has come up here and said, and I know you're tired of hearing it, Mr. Smith has served in all those positions. He's homegrown. Every person that worked in EBR that left this district and applied for a superintendent job, they got hired because they knew they were qualified if they left East Baton Rouge Parish school system. Look up the records. Every person that left here and applied for a superintendent job got it. Mr. Smith could do the same thing, but he's dedicated to the children and the people, the community. He lives here, he pays taxes here, he loves this community. And I'm gonna ask this board, as nice and sweet as I can, please allow Mr. Smith a chance to keep moving this district forward. Again, thank you, Dr. Narcisse. I really want to thank you. You did a good thing for me, but you know, it's time for you to move on. We appreciate everything you did. I promise you, we do. But it's time to move on. We got a new board. Let's give this man a chance to move the district forward. I still have 30 seconds. Again, I just can't praise my board member enough, Mr. Lanus, for making that motion. Thank you. All right.
Thank you. Ms. Kissel.
Hi, Colleen Kissel. I first approve the motion. I appreciate that it was put in there that he would not apply for the job with his, knowledge that, and that he said that he would not apply, but I would recommend removing it anyway, because if we do have a long search and the search turns up candidates we don't like, I would like him to be able to throw his hat into the ring. I agree with everybody saying we should appoint him now. That'd be great. I would like to remind everyone of another job search in Baton Rouge that happened a while ago where we picked an airport director. Sorry, it's bedtime. Where we picked an airport director for East Baton Rouge. The guy left. There was an interim who was not qualified to hold the job, so they did a 2-year job search, at which point the interim was qualified enough to do the job. So they appointed him as the full-time airport director, and now we have a direct flight to DC, which I like. Adam Smith has had the job. He's proved, this is gonna be his, I think, second time as superintendent interim. So we know he can do it. So let's just give him the job and not have a 2-year search or whatever length of time search that costs money. Please be better than the Metro Council on this one, just this once. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. McMillan.
Good evening, Tanya McMillan, parent of a child in East Baton Rouge Parish School System. And I want to speak to support Dadrius Lanus's substitute motion to remove this language from this proposed contract. This was a huge gotcha moment. This whole thing started with a bunch of gotcha moments. From the vote for Superintendent Narcisse, when some people thought his contract would be renewed and it wasn't, because some people who they thought would vote for him didn't, gotcha. From the last week in the nominations for board leadership, we had somebody jump ship, jump teams, and nominate someone else. Gotcha. A few days later, we hear that that Superintendent Narcisse is gonna be stepping down early. Gotcha. And then we hear that we're gonna have an interim, Mr. Adam Smith, and the public is so happy. Everybody is so happy. I don't know him personally, never had much experience with him other than him actually replying to a message I sent him about my son not getting his 504 plan implemented. So he's going to be the interim. Everybody's happy. Support. The internet is going wild. And then this contract. Gotcha. Well, I think I got y'all. This contract and this clause in this contract helps you to save face. In the event that he applies and he is not selected, the public will be outraged because of the support for him. So then guess what? You're gonna have that problem if he can't apply. If he applies and you guys find someone else who you think is better, who might be of a different race, you don't have to worry about the public outcry because you didn't pick a black man, because he can't apply. This is you all's comfort blanket. This is your protection. What about the kids of EBR? What about the kids who ride 2 hours to school and 2 hours home because their parents are trying to find them better schools? What about that? Stand on what you were elected to do. Look for the best person for the job. If that person is Mr. Adam Smith, give him the job. If it's not, stand on that and give it to someone else, but don't hide under this blanket. Don't hide under this clause. Stand 2 toes down on what you decide to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Porter.
God bless. Ugh. I'm sitting here. I'm excited. Oh, I'm sorry. My name is Pearl Porter. And I don't know where to start at, but I'm excited tonight because 3 years ago, I was trying and praying all I could for Mr. Adam to get it, but he didn't get it. And when I got the word that he's gonna be interim, and then I got the word last night about this clause, and I started ringing my phone. A clause in that he won't be able to run. He won't be able to apply to be our superintendent. I started making some calls. I said, oh God, that ain't right. And my hat's off to you, brother. My hat's off to you, okay? And as y'all know, I've been around for a long time. Y'all ain't heard from me, but I've been in the back. And I thank God, Mr. Smith. Mr. Smith, why don't you come up here and buy Mother Pearl? Come on. Y'all don't mind that, huh? Come on, Mr. Smith. Y'all, I've been knowing this man, my daughter right now, Nakia Porter. This was her school teacher when she was in what grade, Mr. Smith?
7.
7th grade. And guess what, you all? She made Teacher of the Year last year at Bruley Lower Elementary School. All right? Teacher of the Year. She's a 3rd grade teacher. And I thank God for that today. So that's how, this was her 7th grade teacher, you all. So y'all do the math now. How many years ago I've been knowing this brother? So, I'm time up already? But anyway, I'm not gonna say anything else. Cause, I have a question for you all. Can y'all just go ahead on and make him superintendent without going through all that formality stuff? Can y'all do that, or y'all have to do the other, you know?
We'll answer at the time that the board can make board comments.
Okay, good. All right then. Well, that's all I needed to know. Because, anyway, y'all just take that clause out of there, please. Just take it on out. Well, it's already out because our brother made the suggestion. So I'm going back to my seat. But I'm excited. And I'm ready to get behind him too. I'm going to call in the crew. I'm ready to get behind him as a parent. And we parents going to get behind y'all board. We thank y'all board. But we as parents, and I'm going to my seat, We've got to get the parents back into the school. And that's what Mother Pearl is going to help y'all in, all right? Make y'all job a lot easier. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Harmon. Again, Ms. Maria Harmon. Okay.
Good evening. Again, my name is Maria Harmon, one of the co-directors, co-founders of Step Up Louisiana, and also a constituent in District 6. And I'm here tonight to really speak on, in support of this substitute motion, but also we've been here before, literally been here before. And I have to say, it was a lot of effort to get Dr. Narcisse in place. And it was just unfortunate that we had someone that was more than qualified for the position then, and he's more than qualified now. I'll also say, can we reflect on the amount of money that was spent in the initial search? And it wasn't one, but two. Thankfully, the consultant firm that we worked with said you can get the second one for free. And I said to myself when I first heard that, sitting out there in that lobby about 3 years ago, that we may end up going in that direction. Surely we did. And when everything happened, and I was literally, I don't have any kids in this school system, but I genuinely care about the children. When I tell you I was weeping, crying when y'all chose not to, and I'm saying y'all as a board, as an institution, because I know there are individuals who are new to this board. But as an institution, I cried in disbelief that we literally dismissed him as an option the first time. And for him to stand here earlier and say that I'm not seeking to be here permanently, I just want to serve, and I'm going to be serving in this school district after, shows that even more we should consider putting him in this position. We should not consider anyone with any ulterior motives. This man has no ulterior motives, but only to serve our children. And the reason why I cried was because, again, I don't have any children at all. But I genuinely care about the well-being, because what breaks my heart is to know that Black children in 2024 cannot read. It breaks my heart to know that. It breaks my heart to know that. That is a fact. The data shows that. Here we are up the road where I advocated for at least 4 to 5 years and starting this organization before coming back here. And I felt like I was rectifying something because I actually helped start Democracy Prep Public Schools and got them 192 kids in 2015. And to know how they disserviced those kids. I know how a charter school starts. Nobody has to tell me. I saw it all happen. I know the pressure they put on me to recruit all those kids because it determined their teacher workforce. And to see now that that school is no longer standing and a new operator is in place. We don't need to do that same ship and out movement with a school leader. We need someone permanently tonight. Now, I support the substitute motion, but just like you did the substitute motion to remove that clause, you can do the same thing to make him permanent. There's nothing stopping you. Do it. You have a constitutional obligation to operate independently as a duly elected school board. I am sick and tired as a taxpayer and a constituent and a voter seeing you make decisions that don't make no doggone sense. And I'm seeing children be at the brunt of the oppression. They can't read. I'm tired. Please make the right decision, and thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Harmon. Ms. Moretta Elbert.
Thank you for this privilege. I have never come and spoken. I have been in the audience several times, but I come today in support of my friend that I have known, that I have watched him grow, that I have watched him be the pawn for this board or for the boards previously. They knew that Adam could when others couldn't. And so he was put in these various positions as interim. I can remember even when they put him at Glen Oaks High School as an interim principal because they couldn't find anybody who could pull it back together. I can remember when he was first a principal. Now, I don't know him when he was a teacher, but I worked in East Baton Rouge Parish for 38 years. I retired and was asked to come back. I came back. I always was the person like Adam who wanted to work behind the scenes to make things happen and to make them work. And I feel that I did that. I can justify it. But I know that Adam has been the same type of educator who has always wanted the best. So, Mr. Lanus, I too support your motion and hope that this will be the time that Adam will reap his rewards, because he will do it for our school system. And I'm not speaking as a foreigner. I continue to support the schools. Yes, I'm retired. I went to work for LRCE. I have trained teachers to be teachers. I have also gone back and been a part-time interventionist for the past 2 years. And in that, as the young lady spoke about children not being able to read, that is true. I pull kindergarten students. I have done it for the past 3 years now. And Johnny still cannot read. And the problem is that we are not training our teachers. And that's where it begins. Let's start from the bottom, work it up to where it needs to be, and let's support our teachers and our students. Thank you. And let's support Adam.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Okay, next we have Ms. Tywana Smith.
Good afternoon. I've been with this district. I'm Tawana Smith. I'm an ESS teacher here, and I've never spoken at all. But I've watched the district for years and years and years, even back in the time when Frank Milliken was on the board. I was here. My mother was a teacher in this district, and my sister was over a program here. So I've been watching it, and I'm watching and watching, and politics always take place, and it's been doing it ever since the early 70s. I've noticed that people have come here that didn't know Mr. Smith, but I've been knowing Mr. Smith for some years. And one thing about Mr. Smith I noticed, he's very quiet spoken. You're not going to ruffle his feathers. I don't care how out of character you get, he stays the same. So consistency work in anything, in households, in any chaos. When there's consistency, Mr. Smith, he's there. I don't care if you ask him about a homeless child, he knows about it. I don't care if you ask about regular ed, he knows. He knows ESS, he knows elementary, he knows middle, he knows high. When you got a person that well-rounded, what do you need to look for? He's here. And just like the lady was saying about the song, it came to me, why looking any further when he's right here in front of your face? He's here, and he's been the same for the last 20-something years I've known him. He's been my principal for a while, and whenever you pass, the same smile, the same gesture. And only thing I want to say is that when you vote, think about it. Just give him the job. Why waste money? We could save that money and give me a raise. I mean, he's right here in front of our face. Thank you.
Thank you. Miss Germany.
Okay, you all are getting to know me. And I'm getting to let you know me. I'm Jacqueline Germany, and I'm going to speak my mind. I stand before you tonight to support your substitute amendment. But I'm tired of seeing the revolving door that's been going on here at the East Baton Rouge Parish School Board? Why do we have to go out and look for talent when we have talent here in Baton Rouge? We're coming back. I don't know Mr. Smith, but I've shook his hand tonight, and I'm here to support him. But let's stop. We have too many young people. My son, who was a coach at Capitol High School, who was a coach at Southern University, who was a coach at Jackson State. And you know where he is now? He finished from Tennessee State, and he's an administrator in the school system in Nashville, Tennessee. Let's stop letting our young people leave our state if they have the talent to come and offer what we need at East Baton Rouge Parish. Let's stop the revolving door. Let's support what we have here. Let's support the talent because our children need it. I'm a PTA parent. I've never taught in a school system, but every school that my children have attended, they know me. They know me by name. I worked when my children left the high school. If you think I'm not telling the truth, ask somebody about me. They'll tell you. I was at a governance meeting at Capitol Senior High School yesterday, where I interact with Ms. Lewis. I'm not here to fight you. I'm here to support you, but I'm tired of the revolving door. Let's utilize the talent, the abilities, and the strength that we have in Louisiana, and especially in East Baton Rouge Parish. Mr. Smith, I look forward to working with you, and I hope that this board will do what they need to do, because I have a term that I use. I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. Let's change and do what we know is right to do, and do it immediately. Thank you very much, and you all have a wonderful evening.
Thank you. That is the end of the public comments that we have as far as those who are wishing to speak. I have one comment card here, which is from Ms. Amber Boyd. She does not wish to speak, but she says, I am in support of Mr. Smith as interim and express the desire to allow him to apply as superintendent. Thank you. And Mr. Vice President, if there are any digital comments.
Yes, ma'am. There are a few. Ashley Ballard spoke here in person, so I won't read hers. Mary Juno said, I am requesting that you modify the contract with Adam Smith to remove Section 5 and to allow him to apply for the position of permanent superintendent. I would prefer that you just appoint him now. Adam Smith brings a sense of peace and order to our school district. He is experienced and knowledgeable. Mr. Smith has been a parent in our district. He currently has a grandchild enrolled in our schools. I do not know him personally, but this commitment of his own family speaks volumes about the faith he has in our schools. You have his professional credentials. He has the required classroom experience that will not require you to hire another person to make up for his lack. Mr. Smith is willing to enter into this role despite the overspending of the last 3 years. Our district simply lacks the funds for a wide search. Much of your work and his will be focused on repairing the budget shortfall. Mr. Smith has what it takes for this district to master the basics of education. I urge, and it cuts off, I assume that means she urges us to approve the contract. Sarah Kirkpatrick said, I am disappointed that Adam Smith will not be considered for the permanent position of superintendent. He is qualified and both invested in and respected by our community. Fairleigh Cook Jackson said, I support the appointment of Mr. Adam Smith as interim superintendent. Mr. Smith has repeatedly proven his effective leadership and dedication to EBR PSS and our community. Ernie Ballard said Adam Smith is the best person to fulfill the role as interim head of EBR schools, and I applaud you for this decision. However, it is short-sighted and reeks of political and business interference to have the clause included that he not be able to apply for the full position. For years, our district has been splintered based on political and business interest interfering with what's best for our students and teachers. It's time to move past this and get a solid leader in place who can mend fences and focus on what's most important, the students. If you keep this clause, you are once again creating unnecessary distractions and scrutiny, showing that you don't have the best interests of the students and teachers in mind. The board itself is splintered, so you all need to come together and make the best decision for the district, and that's to allow Adam Smith to lead and apply for the position should he be interested. Jane Goodman said, Adam Smith is a problem solver who can calmly and wisely think outside the box. He should be strongly encouraged to apply for the permanent job, as he would be an excellent choice. And Mrs. Anita Dick said, it should be greatly considered if Mr. Smith is appointed interim superintendent once again, when there will be a superintendent search to follow. Would there be a need for him to be appointed when the board may choose and vote for another full-time official superintendent candidate like was done last time? Maybe a deputy superintendent role should be implemented full-time for situations like these. And that is all the public comments online.
Thank you. Considering that that is the close of public comments, we will now return to comments from the board. I have entered into the queue. And first, I have a question to Mr. Shamlin. Is it possible for us to appoint Mr. Smith tonight?
Thank you, President Powell. State law requires local public school boards, prior to filling a permanent superintendent's position, to advertise that position for 30 days. That's a legal requirement. You advertise position, you wait 30 days, and then the board can then act to move forward. But an advertisement is required.
So once it is advertised for 30 days, I'm hearing you say that even on the 31st day, then we could possibly enter into an appointment.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so that was a question I wanted to ask. The other is, Mr. Smith, if you will make your way to the mic, please. I can't speak for all of my colleagues. I just speak for myself. And so in this case, I'm just speaking for myself. After hearing the outcries of our community that has came out to support tonight, please share with us your thoughts.
Ms. Powell-Lewis, again, as I stated when I was here previously at the mic, I want to allow the board opportunity to find and explore all the options with finding a permanent leader. I'm going to serve regardless if it's a permanent person that's not me. I'm going to serve regardless. I'm not going anywhere. I plan to retire from East Baton Rouge Parish School System.
Thank you. All right, so my next few statements, first of all, I am going to say I support the substitute motion. But my question also is this: in the case that all of us do not agree, Mr. Shamlin, and let's say that this substitute motion fails, will we go back to the original motion?
That is correct.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know first. Now here is where I add my accolades. I have not kept any secret that I support Mr. Smith. I support Mr. Smith because when I was a young teacher with a 5-year-old son in daycare, and I remember that because I had to work out all of my things, going to get him and things like that. I knew that even in the case that my principal was not visiting my class, that district personnel in the form of Mr. Smith was going to show up in my class and ask what I needed. He was going to sit and observe my class. And I think that that's where support starts, and I feel like that is something that we need in our district. I even remember the time that you served as interim. We saw you on our campuses, and that is to be applauded. So I wanted to share that. The next is, I asked Mr. Smith today, when I started receiving phone calls like from Ms. Porter, I said, so what is it that you desire? Because we know what the community desires and what the outpour and outcry has been. And he said the same thing that he said on the mic tonight. That no matter what the case was, and he's mentioned this before, and I'm going to say this in regards to Mr. Bill Brew also, that he's a company man. Have I not heard you say that? I've also heard another constituent call him the cleanup man. And so y'all, you know, all I thought about was the song The Cleanup Woman, which I know that's inappropriate. But at the same time, all of those statements, and even the statements tonight, and even the statements from Mr. Lannis tonight, all of these different accolades speak volumes in regards to what we need to consider doing. And no matter what happens tonight, I think you know, number one, that you are valued. Number two, that we're going to do everything that we can to support you in whichever avenue and whichever way that this vote turns out tonight. So that's just what I wanted to share. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Martin.
Thank you. You know, Mr. Smith, last time you and I were walking in the rain together, I didn't notice you actually walking on the puddles, but after hearing all this testimony, I think I must have missed something. Look, the reason I initially recommended this this clause had nothing to do with Mr. Smith. I recommended him to fulfill the interim role because I think he is by far the best candidate and the only person that can take us through this interim period, which is going to be very rough, and we're giving him a very difficult job. And I didn't want the permanent position and issues over that to be a distraction, but I think it's clear to me from the comments tonight that it will be a distraction no matter what that language is in there or not. And so while you know, if I had it to do all entirely my own, I would perhaps do something different. I also think that, as several commenters made the point, that it's important for this board to start moving past some of the division that we've had recently. And so for that reason, I will also support the substitute motion like our President Powell Lewis. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Shamlin. Okay, thank you. Mr. Lannis.
Mr. Smith, I want to tell you something, but in talking to you, I want to talk to the community too. Protect this man's reputation at all costs, because I can tell you now, there are fractions inside of this community that are going to work tirelessly to ensure that they put up barriers. I told you back in December, from here on out, I'm only speaking truth to power. The reason why I did this tonight is because you deserve a fair shot. You can't tell a man you about to go through one of the worst or roughest periods that we've ever dealt with before and you don't deserve a chance. It doesn't matter if you black, white, blue, yellow, you deserve a shot. You deserve that, especially for the time that you have put in. But I'm talking to the community tonight, and I'm not asking for an amen or anything. I'm serious about this. Protect his reputation, because it's not going to be a direct hit at you. It's going to come at billboards, the same ones you see around town right now that are just trashing our school district and the amazing work that teachers and students did to grow 3 points across this community. That's the way it's going to come. It is going to come at the hands of going through a reduction in force. Keep your people together. Keep your support. You can make it through this. You heard it tonight. You even heard it from board members, white and black. Do what you got to do, my man. You deserve this.
Thank you. Mr. Lewis.
I think you were hovering above those puddles a little bit.
Still wasn't as tall as Mr. Martin.
But listen, I'm gonna sing Mr. Smith's praises too, because everybody else has. My relationship with Mr. Smith started way back in 2009, when I was a second year in the district. Had what I thought was a great idea for a parent honor roll program at Capitol Middle. At the time, Capital Middle was under a memorandum of understanding with the state. Our understanding was you ain't gonna get it. And their understanding was they'd hope we fall on our face so they could get it. Didn't happen. Well, we were in a room one day and Mr. Brister and Mr. Smith and that whole crowd was there, and I had a seat over in the corner. And on the way out the room, the principal mentioned to Mr. Smith about my parent honor roll program. Mr. Smith said, "Let me see it." Put it in front of him. He looked at Viola and Miss Jackson and everybody in the room. He said, "Do it. Go with it right now. Let's start it." And it was the foundation for the next 15 years of what I did in this district, whether I was with RSD, EBR schools, or EBR Type 1 charter schools. But it was the foundation of what I did for the next 15 years. I know about his dedication. I know about his innovative thinking, out-of-the-box thinking. So I'm going to support the substitute motion like everybody else, understanding that we still have to advertise. Mr. Chairman, am I correct?
You're correct.
We still have to advertise. Okay? Well, we're going to advertise, but I think we all know what's happening. There is a process, but you have to follow the process. You have to follow the process. So with that, Mr. Smith, board members, I'll support the substitute motion as well.
Thank you. And I would like to reiterate Mr. Lewis's statements. Yes, we will follow the protocols and the processes and the procedures to the fullest. Thank you. Okay, Ms. Chatelain.
I just wanted to make a quick comment that I've never heard so much positivity been spoken in one single meeting. And that's a really neat thing. It's normally, right, a lot, pretty negative, positives here and there, but that was a really uplifting moment to see the community support this man who sounds like has done a lot for this community. So kudos for that work. I also just wanted to say you can't force somebody to do a job, right, if they don't necessarily want it, but what I think needs to happen here is a little bit of the change in the narrative. So many times I hear EBR, the schools are terrible, this and that, but kids are listening to that and teachers are listening to that and they are fighting every day for better. So I really hope this is a turning point as a community, as a board, as parents, as teachers, as business community leaders out there, that we can start speaking positively about the work that's being done and lift it up, because our kids are listening. My kids are at home listening right now. I'm sure a lot of others are, and we can and will do better. So I really hope this is a turning point for all, that we can look forward, as Mr. Cliff said, at the last board meeting, look forward, not backwards. It's just we're there. Let's move forward. And I'm excited to work with you for at least the next 3 months.
Thank you. Mr. Russ.
Thank you, President Powell Lewis. I want to say thank you to Mr. Smith for agreeing to serve our community in this way. He is a self-described company man. And there's a lot of company men in Baton Rouge that stand up and do what's got to be done every day. And you know, when you see someone that carries such tremendous respect, they're usually the most humble of people. And I think that as a leader in our school system, we all can use a heavy dose of humility from time to time. And so I'm going to appreciate that leadership. I'm going to support Mr. Smith and his leadership, because his success and however long he can be our superintendent is the success of our children. So I will support him in this role. I will support the substitute motion because frankly, I think it's quite obvious that regardless of whether we seek to contractually preclude him or not, that the street committee has spoken, and you will always hear from the street committee. And, you know, at the end, there is going to be pressure from the community on Mr. Smith, and that is something that board members anticipated. That is something Mr. Smith anticipated, and I was able to discuss briefly with him, and that's going to exist regardless. So I think it's more important that we move forward in good faith. I only ask the community, allow Mr. Smith to step into this role, allow your board to build a relationship with him with as little pressure as you can provide so that we can naturally explore our relationship together. We have a lot of hard work ahead. And however long Mr. Smith is going to serve, he's going to be asked to make a lot of tough decisions. And so, as Mr. Landis put it, his reputation is on the line, and our reputation as a board and a community. And so, we need to seek to work together in a new way that is put forth with integrity and honesty to put children first at the center of every conversation. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no further board comment, we will now entertain a vote, and if you will please share.
President Powell, I'm sorry to interrupt you. So the second for this motion, Ms. Stewart, unfortunately had to leave tonight.
Okay.
We need someone else to step in as a second on the substitute motion prior to a vote.
Okay, so then that would be Mr. Lewis. Thank you. So it is.
I think Mr. Lewis made the original.
He was the second. He was the second on the.
Mr. Ballou. Mr. Ballou says.
Okay, all right, thank you, Mr. Ballou. Okay, so, all right, so if you could please read the substitute motion to us again.
Substitute motion to appoint Adam Smith as the interim superintendent and approve the execution of a contract minus the language prohibiting application for the permanent position.
Okay, thank you. We will now entertain a vote.
Please vote. The motion carries.
Thank you so much. I can hear them outside. Yes, 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 yes. Please speak to us, sir.
I was hoping this meeting would only last 30 minutes and that we would be out of here because I knew that it was Miss Stewart's birthday and I wanted to get her out on time to go celebrate her birthday. But I will like to share a few words that I wrote down and share with the community. President Powell Lewis, Vice President Martin, members of the board, and listening community. It is with deep sense of gratitude and responsibility that I stand before you this evening. I'm honored by the trust that you have placed in me during this transitional period. I'm committed to serving our district with dedication and integrity. My journey has been driven by a singular belief that every child deserves a quality education that prepares them to fulfill their purpose. As we embark upon this journey, my vision is clear: to uphold and enhance the standards of education in our district. As we go through this transitional period, we will prioritize success for every student, ensuring that they have access to the resources and supports that they need to thrive. Collaboration will be at the heart of our effort. I look forward to working hand in hand with teachers, parents, caregivers, students, community leaders to address any challenge and to seize all opportunities. As we move forward, I call upon each and every one of you to join me on this endeavor. Your engagement and participation is crucial for shaping the future of our district. Let us work together to ensure our schools continue to be a place of learning, growth, and inspiration. I want to thank you for this opportunity to continue to serve in a leadership position. As we say in the field of education, we have to close learning gaps. But I believe with your vote tonight, we're going to close the relationship gap. So thank you.
Thank you so much, and congratulations. Come on down. Okay, I'll close it out then. Thank you, sir. Okay, so announcement of meetings. Regular meeting to be held on January 25th, 2024 at 5 p.m. in the Central Office Boardroom. Committee of the Whole to be held on February 8th, 2024 at 5 p.m. in the Central Office Boardroom. Regular meeting to be held on February 22nd, 2024 at 5 p.m. in the Central Office Boardroom. Mr. Gode or Mr. Lewis?
I move we adjourn.
We are adjourned. Have a good night.